I recently did more TV extra work on a couple shows, and I picked up a few more tips that I want to tell you if there's TV extra work to be done in the metropolitan area where you live. So on the first of these, it was actually for a reality show, and I thought, really? A reality show? They need extras? Why? That's not really real. I can't tell you much about the show right now because we signed this long contract for that one. It's like, you can't say anything about this or we'll charge you $50,000. But in this particular one, we were back at a hotel downtown, and I walked into the room that was our holding room, and it wasn't very big. I didn't know how many people were showing up, but in the middle of the room were two tables that were put together with tablecloths, and there were 7 chairs around it. That's all the number of chairs that were in the room. And there was a piece of paper on the table. It had a list of names, and I counted. There were 43 names. I thought 43 people are showing up. We have 7 chairs. So I went right down to concierge. I told them this, and they said, okay, we'll order 40 more chairs. I went to the bathroom. I came back, and someone was bringing chairs. Yay. And they told us that we were going to have some kind of snacks and drinks, but all they brought was bottled water and some soda in cans, so you got to bring your own food. This was only supposed to be a 5-hour gig. Our call time was 2:30 in the afternoon. It did go a little long because they were doing some filming first. But the interesting thing is the room started out hot and then it got cold. I mean, really cold. So I left my stuff in the room and I went out in the hallway, and there were more people there sitting in chairs that were there, chairs that we brought out. And finally, they called us because earlier we had counted off by groups of 5, and they'd call group 1 and 3. So I was at the front of the line, and I had passed another room down the hall, again, kind of a large size conference room, but I had seen that there was a table in it, a long conference table with 6 chairs on each side and some equipment. And another woman and I figured, okay, that's going to be where we're at. So we walked in, and they just didn't choose people. I would have thought that they would have said, okay, I want you 11 people sitting at the table and everybody else standing around. No, it was whoever was first in. They said, okay, this one chair is going to be for the lead person who's going to come in a few minutes. And they were, just sit down. And I was just so glad to sit down, but I get to sit next to the person who's the star, which is kind of fun. They didn't check our wardrobe, so most of the time they do, but they just didn't have time, so they just said, okay, whatever you all are wearing is fine. So one woman had told me, yeah, I hardly brought any clothes with me. I had a whole garment bag with a change, but so it was interesting. And on this one, they had us fill out a W-9, not a W-4, and they paid us in cash at the end of the day. Interesting. By the time we left, it was after 6 or 7 o'clock, and they did go over and they paid us a little bit more. So that was that experience. So the other experience was back on the new show coming out in 2017, APB. This one, it said they wanted people, my age range fit, who were going to be upscale dining patrons. Hey, I'm there. Then I was submitted, I was accepted, and then the day before they sent me the call time, which was 8 in the morning, and that meant driving in rush hour, and also where it was, and it was at Navy Pier. And I thought, oh, great. They were a little more clear this time about what to bring, what kind of clothes to bring, but we were just supposed to be dining patrons, right? And they sent us the email with the confirmation of the time, and then they said, and then bring a change of clothes for the second scene, which is you're going to be an outside tourist. It's November by the lake, cold. So I thought, what? What's the weather going to be like that day? So it was going to be a nice day. It was going to be in the 60s, but again, by the lake. And then they also sent us a map, and we're going to be on the north side of the pier, which has more shade, not the south side of the pier. And this was going to be when we were back on standard time, not daylight savings time. So the morning went really well. Got there 8:30, and they went through our wardrobe. That took some time, but everybody was online, and it was going. They had us in a bigger space this time, not all scrunched together. And they called us by 9:30 and we went into the restaurant. It was a lot of fun. They sat me at a table near the actors, which was kind of fun. So very interesting to watch all this. They served me a crab cake. It was yummy. Yeah, you kind of fake eat, but hey, I'm supposed to be eating, not putting it up to my mouth and putting it down. So very interesting. Then we went back and we changed clothes and we had to go outside. So I just piled on the clothes. I had my coat with me. My coat had little gloves in the pockets and I was so glad I had those, because by the time we started out in the sun, but by the time they were finally getting to finish, the sun had gone behind the building. So we were all getting really cold because we were right on Lake Michigan and the wind was coming in, and yeah, it was really something. At one point, some of us just went inside just to get inside. And so that was a surprise. So we were talking with some other extras, and there was a young woman who's about 20, and she said that's happened to her before, where she signs up for one thing and it ends up being something slightly different. So she was in one show where she didn't think it was going to be a concert scene. All of a sudden it was turning into a concert scene, and she said, oh, concert scenes take a long time, and if they're outside and the weather isn't really nice, it's miserable. So she's felt tricked before in the past too. So that was my first experience of signing up for one kind of scene, and it turns out to be that plus something else that I really didn't sign up for, which turned out okay, but that's because I was prepared. There were a lot of people who were cold because they didn't have gloves in their pockets or they didn't have a warm enough coat with them. Always bring layers. And so it didn't matter what clothes I was wearing underneath because I was wearing a coat. So very interesting, something to be aware of if you're doing this. Please check out some of my other videos that are about being an extra on television or a non-speaking actor in a commercial. Unlike what I'm doing now where I'm speaking, you can click the little eye in the upper right hand corner. Those are cards. You can click them on mobile and see some other related videos, or click one of the two on the right side of your screen. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Bye.